I want to share with y'all something I've noticed, and maybe this is a question of cause, and maybe this is a question of effect. Maybe a little bit of both. But anyway, here's what I've noticed. Movies, maybe it's in all forms of fiction, but especially in movies. You can find a ton of movies about a father-daughter relationship that is, very loving and, where they grow together and they adore each other, and the father's extremely protective, and the daughter is, maybe a little frustrated at times with her dad, but she also comes to realize, that no man in her life could ever take the place of her dear old dad, and that sort of thing. Which is nice, which is great, and being the father of a daughter, I can totally relate to that. But here's the thing: look up, again, any form of fiction, but especially movies, about father and son relationships. And almost always it's like this hard ass, semi-abusive or maybe just abusive or just extremely controlling father who's like, hey boy, you need to straighten up. You need to understand the world don't owe you nothing. I don't know if they all, talk like a scary redneck, but they have that kind of attitude, and they're always coming down hard on the boy and being very exacting, and the son's like, okay, Dad, whatever. Okay, you know what, Dad? I don't want your life. I want to live my life, okay? And so that just seems to be the trend when it's about a father and son. When it's about a father and daughter, there's maybe a little bit of misunderstanding, maybe a little bit of frustration, but ultimately, it's very, very loving, very mutually loving. But when it's a father and son, it's just like, it's always just the dad is overbearing and the son is rebellious and trying really hard to live up to his father's exacting desire of what he should be, but then finally just breaking and saying, look, Dad, you got to let me be me. And I just can't relate to that. I have a son, okay? I can't relate to the latter at all. I don't feel that way about my son. I don't have that kind of relationship with my son. I never have, felt that way about my son. You see things in movies where like a father, if the son becomes too successful, the father tries to take him down a peg because he's threatened by his son's success. I mean, I just don't. That just never. If my son were to become way more successful than me, which he probably will become that, I will be nothing but happy for him, and I won't feel threatened by his success, and just all of this whole, hey boy, you better straighten up. None of that has ever been. I mean, I adore my daughter and I adore my son. They're both fantastic people. I've always felt that way about them. So my burning question here is, why don't we see more works of fiction like that reflect loving relationships between, and I'm sure there are some, I'm oversimplifying here, but it seems that, like, if you look up movies about father-son relationships, it's like the norm is something like The Great Santini, with Robert Duvall tormenting his son. You're saying, "You're gonna cry, you're gonna squirt," throwing a ball at his face, and like, oh God, just don't relate at all. Just don't understand it at all. So why is this? I mean, like, I think you know me. I'm a believer in psyops, but I don't know whether this is an instance of that. I don't know if this is an occasion, because it would seem like that. Yeah, of course they want to tear families apart, but if that's the case, why do they so often show fathers and daughters being harmonious with one another and loving with one another? And why do they show fathers and sons so often being at odds, and the father just being just this dick? Why is that like so often the case? I mean, is it more reflective of reality than I'm aware of? Because I don't know. Like, I didn't have that kind of relationship with my dad, and I definitely don't have that kind of relationship with my son. So, anyway, just an open question.